Connecting Point is visiting Hampshire County. We are at the Yiddish Book Center in Amherst, and we are joined now by Susan Bronson, the Executive Director of the Yiddish Book Center, our hostess for today. Thank you so much for making us welcome.
Thrilled to welcome you. It's always a pleasure, and it's a pleasure to welcome the community through your show to the Book Center.
Let's talk about this unique place, Yiddish Book Center, originally called the National Yiddish Book Center, started in 1980 by an amazing gentleman who is your founder, your president, Aaron Lansky, who came up with this idea to try and find and save whatever Yiddish books might be out there around the world.
Right. He was a graduate student, 23 years old, just trying to find a Yiddish book for his class, and discovered in the course of his studies that he couldn't find any Yiddish books. They weren't around. And discovered that people were actually just throwing them away because the language, people weren't reading the language, people weren't speaking the language, and families, no one knew what to do with these books anymore. So he set out what he thought was going to be a brief sabbatical from graduate school to collect a few Yiddish books so he and his fellow students could have them. And here we are 34 years later. In the course of that process, he and many, many volunteers around the world saved more than 1 million Yiddish books, essentially rescuing the entirety of Yiddish literature, many years later also built this incredible building where we are today, which is much more than just a place that holds books. We're a museum, a cultural center, an educational center, and so that little event of just trying to find a Yiddish book turned into an entire life's work and the rescue of what would have been a lost cultural heritage and treasure.
After the events of World War II, the Holocaust, the Jewish population of Europe all but destroyed and dispersed, saving Yiddish books really took on a special meaning and poignancy, I would think. Well,
it certainly did. I mean, I think it's interesting, and what Aaron Lansky, who's our founder, always says is that it's in a way shocking that Jewish people who call themselves the people of the book would be throwing out these books. But in the context of the times, when people were trying to become more American and nobody was speaking Yiddish anymore. I mean, there was no country to return to where Yiddish was spoken. And the state of Israel was founded, and Hebrew was its founding language. So Yiddish seemed to be a dying language, and people no longer felt the need to study Yiddish, and in fact tried to push it away in the process of acculturating and becoming Americans. But I think, as has become clear in the last couple of decades, with the rescue of those books, there's been a real renaissance, and a real renaissance of interest in Yiddish literature and Yiddish culture. It was the spoken language of Jews for 1,000 years, and it was the language through which Jews first encountered the modern world. And it is, in fact, a great literature. So this act of cultural rescue really means that this whole treasure is there for new generations to explore. And in fact, many of our visitors now are the very same people whose parents or grandparents may have decided they didn't need these books anymore, or didn't know who was going to read the books anymore. And when they walk in this building, many people cry because it is such a deep and meaningful experience just to see that these books were saved and that this heritage was saved.
I know your goal here at the Yiddish Book Center is not to warehouse these books, but to get old Yiddish books into the hands of new potential readers here and around the world.
Well, that's true, and in fact it's even broader than that. I mean, we have, in addition to saving the books, we've digitized them. They're all available online through the Internet Archive and through our own website, which in and of itself is phenomenal. We're really digitizing an entire literature, and will likely be the first completely the world's first completely digital literature, pardon me. And we want to open those books up for new generations, and we want to do so metaphorically as well as physically, in the sense that we are doing work to translate these books, because many people don't know Yiddish and won't know Yiddish, and only 2% of the literature has ever been translated. So we have an initiative to translate the books, but we also want to do so in the broader sense of opening up the culture that those books contain to a broader audience through all the programs that we have here, including exhibits and concerts and lectures and a whole host of education programs for visitors of all ages. From high school age, we have school field trips for schools throughout the region. We have a program for high school students called Great Jewish Books, a summer residential program. We have a program for college students where they're here for 7 weeks learning Yiddish and Jewish culture. We've programmed for 20-somethings called Tent, where seminars in Jewish culture are offered at institutions around the country. And we do all kinds of projects for adults. This weekend we have a weekend course on Sholem Aleichem, the great Yiddish writer. We recently had a week-long Yiddish school for adults. So we try to open up this culture and introduce it to people of all ages, and we continue to expand our educational outreach. So it's quite exciting, actually, the range of activity.
It's amazing in the research and reading I did to prepare for our discussion, I discovered that chances are if you find a Yiddish speaker today, it is probably a young person, probably someone under 30 years of age. And again, you're trying to appeal to that group. Right.
Well, it is interesting. Of course, I would say more like there's a big gap. There is still a generation of people still alive who spoke Yiddish as children. Their parents came to this country as immigrants. They spoke Yiddish as children. And so we get adults coming in who know some Yiddish, know a little Yiddish, remember Yiddish. Many of our members still have some Yiddish. But then there's sort of a lost generation, of which I am one, where no one learned Yiddish. And now there are all young people all over the country who are interested in learning Yiddish. And I think there have been a variety of articles recently about how Yiddish is now being reestablished in colleges and universities around the country, which is something that one never would have predicted 20 years ago. But yes, I mean, I think older people love coming here and seeing how many young people can speak to them in Yiddish. And I think they still find it kind of shocking. Like, how is it this 22-year-old is speaking to me in Yiddish? But yes, indeed, it's a wonderful and fascinating thing.
Got to talk to you as we conclude about an event that you've had here for a little while now. Summer event, a music festival.
Yes.
Yidstock, coming up in mid-July. Klezmer and new Yiddish music. It's an amazing, fun idea.
Right. Well, Yidstock is an idea we had a few years ago, a way of trying to create some energy. We'd always put on cultural programs. We'd always have concerts here. But I thought, if we put together a festival where we have a bunch of concerts here over a period of days, let's get a lot of people in the door, and let's find a way to really expose all these artists who are taking this traditional music form of klezmer music, which many people today have heard about. There was a whole klezmer revival in the last couple of decades, but they're really building on that and bringing it into new kind of musical forms. So this is our third year, and we've got a great lineup. It's July 17th through 20th. You can buy a festival pass and come for the whole weekend, or you can get a ticket for just one concert. We have two of the greatest klezmer bands in the world playing here. One is Klezmer Conservatory Band, which was one of the forerunners in the klezmer music revival, and we have the Klezmatics, which was another very early, and they're still, incredible, and what a great experience. And we also have dance workshops and song workshops and lectures, so it's really a great event, and I encourage you, if you're interested, to call now, because we do sell out. So it's a great event, and it's a wonderful excuse to come and see this place, because I will tell you that if you haven't been here, which I know now you have, but people walk in the building and they are inevitably surprised and say, wow, I had no idea that this is what this place was. They picture a little bookstore or some sort of a little library, and we are really an incredible facility, and I encourage everyone to come and visit.
Well, Susan Bronson, Executive Director of the Yiddish Book Center, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.